Hey y'all, I'm Cheraw Tony. Today the road brings us to Vicksburg, Mississippi, and we are here at the site of the USS Cairo. The USS Cairo is a gunboat that was used by the Federal Army and sunk during the siege of Vicksburg, and we are going to explore this ship and learn a little bit about it, and we'll get started right after this station identification. This is a picture of it through the glass doors of the closed museum. Make out a little bit of it. Yeah. It is raining cats and dogs right now, and a good thing because the Cairo is under this huge canvas tent. Sure, you can hear it in the background.
The USS Cairo weighed 512 tons, was 175 feet long, and the beam was 51.2 inches. James Eads, the engineer and shipyard owner, was given a deadline to meet, or he had to pay $200 a day, and he agreed to the terms to construct 7 new ironclads. To speed production, a partner shipyard built 3 of the boats, including the Cairo. Each shipyard built the other 4 boats. All 7 boats were delivered 100 days later. The USS Cairo and her 6 sister ships were all named for towns along the Ohio and Mississippi River. Unlike wooden sailing ships used at the beginning of the Civil War, these ironclads had steam-driven engines, armor plating, 13 cannons, and a top speed of 9 miles per hour.
On December the 12th, 1862, Cairo was part of a mine-clearing expedition on the Yazoo River. Her commander, hearing small arms firing coming from up ahead, steamed around the rest of the boats and into unexplored waters. Suddenly, explosions tore holes in the boat, including the one right here. It sank quickly in 36 feet of water. No lives were lost, and the crew was recovered by nearby vessels. Some historians believe Confederates lying in wait along the riverbanks detonated the mines called torpedoes electrically. Others, experts think the underwater mines were strung across the channel. When the Cairo hit the line, her forward motion pulled the torpedoes against the side of the boat, and they were detonated. Here is a topside drawing of the Cairo. The ship came equipped with 13 heavy cannons. It took a crew of 6 men to position and fire each gun. As the Cairo prowled the rivers of the north of Vicksburg, they could use this cannon to pound Confederate forts, battle enemy gunboats, and sink shipments of supplies headed to Confederate armies. Now, of course, this thing sat in the mud for many years. And what they've done, they have come back and put timber up where the original timber was.
The temperatures in here go over 130 degrees.
5 long boilers made steam to power the Cairo engines. The boilers were heated with coals, 2,000 pounds an hour. Hot gases from the fire flowed through the tubes running the length of each boiler. Heat from the gases turned the water inside the boilers to steam.
What you're seeing now is a firebox where the cover was shoveled into the firebox, heated the boilers. Steam from the boilers powered Cairo's engines and drove her paddle wheel. A gunboat without steam could not move and was helpless if attacked. Ironclads kept fires burning and steam pressure built up even when anchored. For hours on end, coal heavers piled coal from storage bunkers into the fire room, and firemen fed the fuel into each fireboxes.
The steam drove 2 huge pistons right here, and in turn, that's what turned the paddle wheel. Now everything that we are in now, that we would have been probably in total darkness with the exception of probably candlelight. The paddle wheel itself was even enclosed. Now these cannons. Of course, the cannons would appear through little iron portholes. Interlocking iron plates like these to the left of the cannon protected the pilot house and sloping casemates from the enemy fire. Behind the 2.5-inch thick plates were white oak planks 12 to 25 inches thick. When the iron plates took a hit, their wooden backing kept them from shattering. Ironclad gunboats had long, flat-bottom hulls to navigate the shallow rivers. Loaded with heavy boilers, engines, and guns, the hull tended to droop at the ends from uneven weight. This caused the center of the boat to hump like a hog's back, called hogging. Hog chains kept the boat and stern from sagging. You see on this diagram, from the top, hog chains will come down and go to the stern. Had you stepped on the USS Cairo during the Civil War, the conversations may have surprised you. So many languages. As we strolled through the decks, we might have heard French, Danish, Russian, German, and accents from nearby Ireland, England, and the Caribbean. Nearly half of the boat's sailors were immigrants. This group of men came from many walks of life. They were black and white. They were farmers, teachers, butchers. Most had no sailing experience. They learned their duties on the job. U.S. born or not, these Union soldiers were fighting for survival. We have seen this on other ironclads. This very top, this would have been the pilot house, where the pilot of the ship would do the navigation and the steering from up there. This winch helped the crew haul heavy lines, move guns on the gun deck, and pull in the anchor. Steam from the boilers powered the capstan. In emergency, this essential tool was turned by hand with wooden spokes inserted into the hub on the top. And they would, in those little squares right there. The paddles, or buckets, were probably simple wood planks. If damaged, they could be easily replaced by the boat's carpenter. The Cairo's 15-foot wide paddle wheel was made up of 4 22-foot diameter spiders. The web-like iron arms and circles that formed the spokes of each wheel. Rudders on each side of the paddle wheel steered the gunboat. The rudders were finned. These sturdy wooden fins were controlled by cables attached to the wheel in the pilot house. Well-aimed enemy fire could cut the steering cables and disable the gunboat. That rudder in its entirety, it has been restored. You can see the one on the left. Some of it's been restored, some of it is original. There is a museum here that has more artifacts from the Cairo on it, but it has been closed. They say it's undergoing renovations. In fact, it's been closed since way before COVID, and they have no indication when it's going to open again. This area here that we're looking at was the Cairo's officers. They slept separately from the enlisted men. Officers' quarters were on the gun deck on either side of the paddle wheel. Here they escaped the heat from the fire room and boilers. At the top of the boat, this enclosure in the semicircle is called a wheelhouse. The wheelhouse enclosed the paddle wheel. Wheelhouses were not armor plated. They were vulnerable to cannon fire from batteries atop the forts along the high riverbanks. The Cairo was sunk on December of 1862, and it lay in the bottom of the river for 99 years. After it was hit,
98. I believe it was 98.
After it was hit by an electronic torpedo, it took 8 minutes to sink. As heavy as this boat was, with all the iron plating, with the cannons, still, it only had a 6-foot draft. That means it only sat in the water 6 feet deep.
Over the years, the gunboat was forgotten and slowly recovered by silt and sand. Impacted in the mud, Cairo became a time capsule in which her unique historical artifacts were preserved against corrosion and biological degradation. Her whereabouts became a matter of speculation as members of the crew had died and local residents were unsure of the location. Studying Civil War maps, Edwin Bears of Vicksburg National Military Park set out to search for the lost ship using a simple magnetic compass. With the assistance of Don Jacks and Warren Grabo, the ship was found in 1956. In 1960, numerous artifacts were recovered from the ship, including the pilot house and an 8-inch cannon, both preserved by the Yazoo River mud.
These wooden pillars that rise up to the top, that is where the smokestacks would have been. They would have been all metal. After it sunk, they knocked them down to conceal where it was actually sunk at. And here is another view of the pilot house, and it's covered in iron also. The iron on the outside may look familiar to you. It is railroad rail turned upside down and screwed into the wood. And that iron would deflect heavy artillery shells. And it being angled like that, they would come in and hit and it would deflect upward. The railroad iron was added to the Cairo to protect the boat's exposed forward casemates, as well as to the rear. Also, this iron plating, that is original. Some of the other ironclads that I have seen and toured the remnants of, the iron plate had been removed and actually sold for scrap. And perhaps some of this has, some of it's not, because it's not all here. But that is original. That is going to do it for our trip to explore the USS Cairo. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give us a big old thumbs up for you to share with your family and friends. But until next time, y'all have a good day.